Good evening. How are we doing? It is Q&A time. If you're coming in, give me a hello. If you're on replay, drop a replay. We will get straight in. What I'm going to do is just tag a few people in, see who's in the house tonight. Give me a hello if you're coming in. Drop a replay. If you're on replay, let me know how you're getting on. Let me know your one rule from today. Some great rules in there. And the key thing with all of this is keeping things super simple. And we're going to go over the nutrition in a little bit more detail today. Some good questions. And as ever, if you've got questions, do put them in the comments and I will get to them. But I will start with the questions that we've already had. Okay, so I will start with the questions that we've already had. And then we are all good to go. So let me just invite a few people in and then we are ready to go. So, okay, that's in there. Perfect. Right. So let me just get the questions up. It's not stopped raining, as far as I know. Right. So, hope we are all feeling engaged with our muscles. Muscle strengthening work, so important, by the way, especially as we age. Quality of life, strength, tone, above and beyond anything else, to be honest. Hey, Caroline. Hey, Mal. Hey, Shelley. Hey, Eleanor. Hey, Sean. Hey, Jane. So, I'm going to get the questions up right now. So, let's make a start. Perfect. For some reason, comments aren't coming through, but I'm sure they'll come in a second. I'll keep checking on. Right. Hey, Penny. Hey, Jane. Hey, Sarah. There we go. Perfect. So I hope you found today's one rule method helpful. And I was loving some of the rules, very specific. I'll only drink alcohol on a Friday and a Saturday and allow myself a treat in the evening if I want it. Love that. Andrea, permission to have what you want. Like, this is so key, and it's your rule. You're something that you can follow. You're actually doing it on your terms. Monkey on the shoulder included with that, which I love. Rebecca, I have treats on my days off. And that's fine. Like, you're setting that expectations. You know what I would say is define the treat. So I will have this food on these days. And it's a bit like one of you said on there, like about I will have bread at lunchtime only. So it's going away from, I really need to cut out bread. I need to cut out bread because every time I eat bread, I put on weight. And you see how we go into this absolute mindset? We jump into this absolute mindset and bread is either good or bad, when actually it's like, okay, how much bread are we eating? How much do we need to be happily satisfied? Okay, I really need bread at lunchtime because it's quick, easy, and I like a sandwich. And guess what? A sandwich is a great way to get lots of salad in. The question needs to be, does eating one sandwich cause 2 sandwiches and 3 sandwiches and bag of crisps and chocolate bar and everything else? The sandwich, the bread, is found guilty, but really it's the people in the background who are guilty. And it's our response to it. And sometimes it's not the bread, it's our response to the bread. That would be my line. That's a t-shirt. We should do t-shirts. It's not the bread, it's your response to the bread. If I eat bread, I'm going to get fat, put on weight, gain weight, my metabolism's screwed, so I might as well just eat everything anyway. Anyway, that was based on a conversation. We had a little bit of a discussion in one of our sessions earlier. And everyone was like, yes, that's so funny how my brain goes into that space sometimes. Cool. So let's jump into these questions. That was a bit of a tangent, but I thought that was a conversation we had earlier, so I thought it'd be relevant. So question number 1. Sean asks, can I exercise to increase my calorie allowance for the day? In brackets, please. So, in short, you can. It's one way of doing it, for sure. What I would say is, remember that calorie allowance is subjective and it does take time. So the calorie allowance, the allowance is there to achieve a goal. In this case, let's say it is weight loss. So we assume that, let's say 1300 calories is what I need to lose weight. Now, let's say you burn off 200 calories. That gives you 1500 calories. You might go, now I have 1500 calories. And on days you don't exercise, you slightly eat less. That can work. And there's definitely, potentially, depending on the level of exercise you're doing, is a key indicator here. So if you're training for weight loss and performance, they are slightly contradictory goals a bit. So if you're trying to go on a run, you're trying to run 12 miles on an event or 10 miles or whatever, there's going to be an element. Hey, Suzanne. Hey, Helen. There's going to be an element where you need to train for performance, which is going to require certain types of energy and fuel. So it's a happy medium here. So for this situation, Sean, I would actually say you can until you can't. And what I mean by that is you can, because ultimately, if you're struggling to stick to it anyway, and then you end up kind of binge eating a bit, snacking, comfort eating, sabotage, it's probably a good thing to actually go, I can increase my calories. So there's two options here. Do it based on the calories you burn. Wary of, just be conscious of creating the exercise just for calories, because there's so many more benefits that exercise gives you, from mental health to bone density to quality of life to mood to energy to sleep to metabolism, the lot, to hunger. Hey Kathleen, hey Sue. So the alternative to that is to just by default bump up your calories, because if you're not sticking to it, then you just keep it. So you might go, you know what, I'm struggling to stick to 1300 calories, rather than aim for that, but then not go and sod it, I've just failed, might as well hit 2000, just go for 15. Maybe that's a happy medium for you. And that's something I'd say on there. Hope that helps on there. So Jill, what tips do you have for those times when the mountain to climb seems too long and arduous? I would say, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? So instead of going up that mountain, what's the alternative mountain? Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a mountain anyway. You're just looking at the mountain that's in front of you that you've chosen to do, which might be getting fitter, getting stronger, losing weight. That's one mountain. There's another mountain there that you're just choosing not to look at, which is probably twice as big, which is not doing the things that you probably know you need to do. I'm not saying don't beat yourself up about this, but if you just look over the other way, that's not exercising, that's binge eating, that's comfort eating, that's whatever habits you're trying to change, lack of sleep, all the lifestyle factors that we know contribute, and we can say this with, as harsh as this sounds, but with scientific evidence, like emotionally out of the way, do contribute to our risks. Anyone, no matter how healthy we are, no matter what our genetics are as well, contribute to our risks of disease. And so there's always going to be a mountain to climb. It's about choosing what mountain you're looking at the moment. So you might go, oh, this mountain is flipping heavy. Heavy? High. But we're forgetting there's a mountain to the right, which is also high. It's going to be hard anyway. You might as well choose the hard that gets you the results you want. Then the second part of this, probably the more important part, is as you're climbing that mountain, you have to look back down and enjoy the view as you go. When we had a Q&A, never forget this, Dr. Adam Bibby, who came in, he always talks about this from his cycling, and he's a researcher into psychology, and he talks about this a lot. We're so focused on getting up that hill, that we forget there's amazing views along the way up. And they're those little wins along the way that we find so hard to do, maybe because we've still got a long way to go, and that could be the case, and that's a good thing, because guess what? If you were close to your goal, just like yesterday, Penny's question, when I hit my goal, I'll get bored. Well, maybe you need a new goal. Maybe you need that hill to be bigger again. So there's always going to be a problem. Either the mountain's too big or the mountain's not big enough. We get bored. What's the point? Nothing's inspiring anymore. I hit my goal. It's not as exciting as I thought it'd be. It's because we didn't enjoy the journey along the way. quite often we put the goal on a pedestal when actually the key is in the journey, the achievement. And that's why you often see that one of the biggest take homes from trying something and succeeding isn't actually the end result, it's the process of going through it, the challenges. When you look back at journeys, when you look back at, you can take sport as a good example. When they look back and all the failures, they look back and kind of smile and think, yeah, that was tough, but we got through it, we learned from it, and we succeeded. It's the same with health, fitness, weight loss, doing things out of our comfort zone. Almost to the extent where you could pretty much, if you were doing a study in terms of every time you feel stressed or out of your comfort zone, it's probably associated, strongly correlated with good things. And if you were to put that in like a bit of a researcher project, let's have a look if there's a positive association. When I'm stressing out of my comfort zone, good things then happen if I follow through. They'd probably go up like this. And if you could see that visually, you'd probably go, I need to seek out, I need to get uncomfortable now. I need to do things that scare me a little bit more if I want to feel good. Because by taking emotion out of this and just having a look at what happens, I'm scared, I'm out of my comfort zone, I'm going to try something new. Oh my God, should I do it? Will I be able to do it? Oh, good things happen after that. Good things happen. Compare that to the opposite. I'm going to stay in my comfort zone. We're looking at the other mountain now. So, I hope that helps, Jill, on there. Angela, sparkling water, I love it, and especially in a wine glass. But is it the best thing to drink if you have osteoporosis? I have a feeling I heard it's best to avoid too much way of carbonated drinks, as it doesn't help bone strength. So that's one of those things, Angela, where I would say, like, you're talking like so tiny. I'd say it's more to do with teeth potentially. And even then, like the enamel and teeth, even then, just use a straw if you're really worried about that. But that's a tiny thing. You've always got to consider what's the alternative. And I think, I know this sounds a bit weird, but like because I still lecture at Oxford Brookes, and when I listen to research in certain areas, because that's their passion, their area, their brick on a wall that's very big, we can sometimes actually have more bias than we think. And it's like, you might hear one person who's very into that go, yeah, you need to avoid sparkling water, that's the worst thing in the world. But actually they're forgetting that, what if that person has sparkling water and that fills them up? That means they drink more water. They're less dehydrated now. They don't snack as much. They drink less alcohol now. Now what's the best choice? And that's the question I want to ask. If you could compare it to water. Like tonight I've had an alcohol-free beer. In fact, this one here, alcohol-free. It's like 60 calories for the whole can. For me, that's, what would I have instead? Well, it's filling, it takes the edge off. It feels like I'm having something like a treat. I don't have them very often, but it's like, you know what? I might have one. And it's like getting that balance right. At the end of the day, that is just like fermented. It's like a fermentable food, technically. Without the alcohol, it's borderline health drink. But it's interesting. It's like our quest to be perfect. And it gets to the stage, if you can't even have sparkling water, what can you have? In a way, water. So I would always say it's always about asking, what's the alternative to this? What's the alternative? That would be my go-to on there. So I hope that helps. Is that helpful? Cool. Rose, I like the way baked beans were considered a free food when I did Slimming World, as they made more of a meal with scrambled eggs. How do they fit in with the planning menus you have produced? So that would actually work. So if you're having your eggs, that would be a protein. Beans are a protein source, but they are also a carbohydrate source. So they would need to be in the carbohydrate. They would be the carbohydrate. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, your beans would be your protein source as well. So you might want to double up on that. So you might mix your pulses. So that's all good, Rose, if you want to have that. And if you want to get a combination of beans, baked beans actually do a 3-bean mix now, or is it 5-bean mix, where they do different types of beans. So you're getting different amino acids, different types of beans, different fibers, all in one, which is quite cool. So yeah, baked beans and scrambled egg is perfect, Rose. Keep it going. Okay. Annette asks, can you give examples of hand-sized portion of protein? That sounds like a huge steak. I wouldn't eat that more than once a week, never mind 3 times a day. Does a glass of milk count, e.g. at breakfast? Yeah, so as I showed in the meal maker, a hand size, so it might be like that big, right? So you could go palm size if you want, if it's a steak, like fist size of that, thickness of that. But what I would say is, if I'm honest, like, I've rarely looked at someone's food diary, say they've tracked the calories and everything and gone, oh, you're eating a bit too much protein. I don't think that's happened once in my life, and I've looked at many food diaries in my time. Never have I gone, oh, you're eating way too much protein here. If you look at studies on muscle retention, how much protein you can get away with without getting any side effects, the impact on weight loss, the impact on hunger, you would do well to overeat protein even if you tried. If steaks, I mean, there's probably a reason. It's probably too filling, right? If it's a cost issue, you can go to like tinned fish. Tuna's an easy one. Eggs, easy one. Mackerel, if you're like me, easy one. In terms of meat, fish. And it's not about being perfect. Like you mentioned, Annette, never mind 3 times a day. I'm not saying you go straight to 3, but it might be like if you're traditionally having, if you look at the standard diet, cereal for breakfast, barely any protein. There's a bit in the milk, like you said, but not masses. But that's fine. If it keeps you full, keep it going. Lunch, there might be soup and bread. Okay, an easy swap there is, rather than use like any soup and bread, could you go for more of a lentil soup, a bean-based soup, chicken soup, some with a bit more protein? Maybe sprinkle in some chicken on top of that. Maybe you have a protein shake for pudding for after to top that up. What a perfect combination of vegetables, soup, protein. Maybe have some yogurt, Greek yogurt afterwards, whatever, soy yogurt. Then in the evening meal, you have your protein again. And already there, you've increased your protein from 1 meal a day, your evening meal, to 2 meals a day, which can have a dramatic effect on your hunger, blood sugar levels, etc. So that can have quite a positive impact. So it's not about being perfect, it's just about progress with that. So yeah, glass of milk would be fine, if you're happy with that. There's lots of nutrients in milk. It's quite a simple one to add in as well. And we know that from, like, if you look at studies in like homes and things like that, the impact that adding dairy to diet can have on bone health it's a real easy one as well. You can add it into people's diets quite easy to consume for many. So yeah, convenient. So I hope that helps on there. Sandra, what's your thoughts on drinking tea and coffee? Tea and coffee is all good, Sandra. That was a question that Rose had, actually. She said, so tea and coffee, absolutely fine. They're actually more hydrating than dehydrating, despite what you sometimes hear, unless you're just drinking espresso shots. But you might want to be a bit wary of drinking some water, hence why often when you buy an espresso, say in Italy, they'll give you a glass of water with it. But try, if you can, coupling water with your hot drinks. That's quite a good thing to do to get into a habit. It's called habit stacking, which is a good thing to do. If you're already drinking tea and coffee, then great. I drink lots of tea and coffee a day, probably 3 to 4 caffeinated coffees and maybe 1 to 2 decaf cups of tea a day. Anything else on that, if I have any more, it'll be decaf. And I tend to keep my caffeine all before like 2 p.m. Because of the impact on caffeine on sleep. So I'll front load my caffeine to the start of the day. Then I stop around 2 p.m. latest, maybe earlier some days. And that just ensures I haven't got caffeine floating around the bloodstream, which is blocking a hormone called adenosine. Adenosine makes you tired and helps you go to sleep. And that includes like tea as well. I don't that doesn't include cocoa for me, but yeah. So my thoughts on tea and coffee: include them in your diet. They're a great source of polyphenols, antioxidants, like really dark horses with antioxidants. There's tannins in tea, polyphenols, antioxidants in coffee as well. Everything from cognition, decision making, concentration. Yeah, like it's a no-brainer. Performance with your exercise as well, pain threshold, all of these things, super important. So yeah, Sandra, if that was what you were getting at, almost permission to have your tea and coffee, there it is, right there. Nikki, how much homemade soup is okay, or has it got hidden calories? It does depend what you put in, Nikki. But generally, if you put in a load of veggies in there, stock, whatever, you'll be pretty fine. I guess you got to be wary if you put lots of potato in there. You might, but even then, it's quite hard to overeat, right? Because of the liquid involved in it, how slow you have to have it. So just consider that. I'll never forget the soup study. They actually did this at Oxford Brookes, actually, when I was there. And what they did is they did a refilling soup. So you do need to be a bit wary of this, like very good mannerisms, like sitting down when you eat is going to be key. Always eating out of crockery, no distractions. So half the people had bowls of soup, normal bowls of soup. The other half were being subtly refilled under the table. So they were subtly refilling the soup bowl as they were eating it, just slowly, so they didn't really notice. And the people who were getting refilled would just keep going until it's empty. It was only subtle, but they ended up consuming more than the people who weren't getting it refilled. And what that showed is we kind of eat with our eyes. When we're done, we're done. We think we're in control of how much we eat. We think we're just, that's about right. But we actually are more dictated by our environment than we would ever really know. So, that's quite a fascinating one, isn't it? The human brain. We think we're more in control than we are. Does that help, Nikki? Nikki, would you say butter is better than spreadable fats? They're about the same really now. Generally, I guess it depends, like, how much you use, really. Like, I know some of the spreadables now use, like, olive oil, things like that. So if it's kind of olive oil, it's going to be quite a good fat. Depends how much you use, though. If you think that it's like now spreadable, that's fine, that's healthier, I'll use a bit more. Whereas butter might be seen as more of a treat, so you might use it less often. There's that psychology that goes into it, like we talked about the other day, in terms of, you have a milkshake and it's got indulgent, smooth, creamy on it. You feel more satisfied than if it was the same shake, but it said skinny and diet on it. And I'll never forget my wife's granddad. He's from Manchester, through and through, likes his tea, 3 sugars in there, very to the point. And I made him a cup of tea once, which was a nerve-wracking experience. And I thought, right, can I get him on Truvia here? Stevia. Let's see if I can do it. And he's adamant that no, nothing tastes good. And I was like, all right, I won't do it then. Anyway, I put it in there. And to this day, he doesn't know that he said it was the best cup of tea he's ever had, in a Manchester accent, really passionate, he said. And yet he didn't have any sugar in there. And it's a funny mindset thing, because if I would have told him, I can guarantee, if I'd have said, that has no sugar and it's got sweetener, he'd probably went, oh, this is disgusting. Interesting. Very interesting. So, Vicky, I find having tins of mixed bean salad mix a really easy protein, add to vegetable ragouts or what I call fridge dinners, using up the odd veggies. Yeah, the mixed bean tins are great. Like, in the summer, I was really into the vinaigrette. So they're in a vinaigrette. Beans, I just chuck it on anything. Or even, I actually liked eating out of the tin. But yeah, like, I love mackerel as well. So mackerel, 3 bean salad, some salad on time. That was my summary go-to of 2022. So that's a great share, Vicky, actually. Yeah, so 3 bean salad mix, perfect. What we're doing at the moment, my wintry autumn version is more the taco version. So I buy a bean mix or kidney beans or something like that. And when I make the tacos for the kids, rather than putting the beans in the sauce, I mash the kidney beans or the beans like into like a mash, so it just thickens it. Then I put it in with the mince and stir it in, so it bulks it out, but you haven't got beans just in there. And my kids seem to just eat that more, and also it makes a lot more. And then you've got the protein from the kidney beans, protein from the beef, double the trouble, fiber, protein, done, delicious. Get that crunch from the tacos of 50 calories a taco. Good to go. You can add some cucumber, salad on the side. I always add some like sweet corn in there as well, just on mine within the taco as well, cucumber. Yeah, good to go. So that's a good one. For butter might have less additives. Yeah, it probably does do, for sure. And it depends how you do the butter. Like, it'd be an interesting test to do. Like, if you melt the butter first, then spread it, do you just end up using the same? I guess it's when the butter's like fridge temperature and you try and spread it, you almost use like triple the amount. So yeah, I guess like anything, it's how much you use is the key one. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah. Vicky, haven't tried the vinaigrette ones. Yeah, give them a try. They are very nice, I must say. It's almost like a meal in a tin then. Yeah, cool. So that is that on there. Okay. So. Okay, let's have a look. So, any other questions at all? Yeah, it was yummy. Any other questions at all from tonight, day 3? If you're on replay as well, let me know. And then we will get going from there. So, tomorrow we go into a bit more psychological eating, physiological eating, again, setting up your environment, setting up your responses to external things that can potentially impact our hunger, and really delving in to hunger. What is it? When does it occur? Why does it occur? What should our response be? What's right? What decision do we really want to make? Are we people pleasing? Are we not? More on that tomorrow. Perfect. That's all I got for tonight. Hope that was helpful. The replay will be posted, so on replay, drop a replay. 6 a.m. tomorrow, remember. Task number 4 already. Weeks are flying by. How is it at the end for Jan? I was speaking to someone the other day, and they were like, no, today actually, because they've just got started on our 28-day kickstart, and they were like, I probably won't be able to start until the 17th. Is that all right? Or do I need to wait till February? And I was like, yeah, that is quite a long way. And then I was like, oh no, it's the 11th today. It's the 11th of Jan already. I was like, that's a week. That's fine. You're good to go next week. That's when we start next week with our 28-day kickstart. So time is flying. Great stuff, Andrea, Jane. And if you want more information, some of you have asked about the 28-day kickstart. In terms of the 28-day kickstart, ensure that if you want more information, I will put the link above actually, or send me a message. I can get you the details on that. Great, Angela. Feel much better drinking sparkling water now, especially as I've upped my water intake so much since joining Fruity Fit. Perfect. Love it, Angela. You'll be drinking alcohol-free beer and sparkling water with your breakfast soon. No, joking. Just joking. Great stuff, Penny. Awesome. Shelley, great stuff. Any questions, let me know. And I will see you soon. Take care.